Welcome to Vacuum Wars and to our review of the Mova P50 Pro Ultra, the flagship robot vacuum from Mova, which has most of the major features of other flagship robot vacuums but is selling for a much cheaper price. Mova is a relatively new brand that seems to be focused on value. The first product of theirs we reviewed, the Mova P10 Pro Ultra, won our best value pick, as it had some of the most features and best specs we've seen at a very reasonable price. So we bought a P50 Pro Ultra for ourselves and have been testing it in various ways over the past few weeks. In this video, we'll go over the pros and cons of the P50 and compare it to the Mova P10, because while the new P50 has more features and in some ways is better than the cheaper P10, in other ways the P10 just makes more sense. And in this video, I'll explain why. So, links in the description, and let's get started. First, the basics. The Mova P50 Pro Ultra is a robot vacuum mop combo. It can vacuum hard floors and carpets, as well as mop floors. It carries a list price of $1,000, though it frequently sells for around $800. By comparison, the Mova P10 Pro Ultra typically sells between $500 and $600. Both models are priced significantly below their competitors that have similar capabilities and features. Starting off with the differences between these two products besides the price, the P50 has a higher official suction power than the P10 Pro Ultra, though as we'll see later, this didn't really matter too much. The P50 also uses slightly hotter water for the mop self-cleaning cycle than the P10 does. The P50 also has an active hair removal system, which removes hair from the brush as it vacuums. And while in our tests, the P50 did do better than the P10 with hair management, it was only better by about 4%, and they were both significantly better than average with resisting hair tangles. Another key distinction is that while they both use identical spinning mop pad systems that lift up 10 millimeters automatically when it detects carpets to keep them dry, the P50 offers an additional option to just leave the mop pads completely at the base when vacuuming carpets. This provides even more assurance against getting carpets wet, and it's a nice feature to have. The final feature difference on paper that we could find is that the P50 has camera-based dirt detection, which is an innovative and somewhat rare feature where it uses its camera to spot dirty areas and then gives that area more attention when vacuuming. We observed this particular feature activate during our coffee debris test, where it dedicated extra time to cleaning that area, so it's a potentially valuable feature in certain scenarios. Despite these differences, the P50 and P10 share numerous similarities. For example, they both use the same basic brushes to sweep up debris from the surfaces of hard floors and carpets, and they did well with this most basic job of sweeping debris of all shapes and sizes from both surface types. They both have an automatically extending side brush, which extends for better corner coverage, as well as an automatically extending rear mop pad, which extends for better edge coverage when the robot senses it's near walls. And both auto-extending features worked incredibly well in our tests. They also both have a really good multifunctional dock where, in addition to emptying the robot's dustbin when it returns to its base to charge into a disposable bag, they also wash and dry their mop pads, and both of the docks will refill the water tanks with water and a mopping solution of your choice. They also both have docks that auto-clean themselves with little squeegees in the base, which is a pretty advanced dock feature. Another important similarity is that they both have obstacle avoidance sensors up front, which is more common in the P50's price range, but it's kind of rare in the P10's price range. And as far as we can tell, the obstacle avoidance systems are very similar. For example, they both use a camera with 3D structured light. In the various obstacle avoidance tests that we do, the P10 Pro, the cheaper one, was slightly better, though they were both slightly above average, and the differences between them were probably margin of error. If we did this test several times, it would probably even out. Basically, they're not perfect with obstacle avoidance systems by any means, but they are about on par with other systems out there. On the software side, they both utilize an identical app featuring multi-level mapping, virtual barriers, extensive control over robot and bin operations, 3D mapping, and even pet-oriented functions like live video monitoring. I would say that their apps are pretty darn good, especially for a new player in the field. Moving on to the differences that we saw during testing, which mostly showed up in the performance tests. One notable difference was with their mopping ability, specifically with the dried-on mopping test, where the P50 was notably better than the P10. Mopping ability is one of the few areas that the cheaper P10 struggled with when we reviewed it a few weeks ago, but the P50 did absolutely amazing with this test. The P50 got a 110 on the dried-on stain mopping test, which is higher than the average, and it got that high score without leaving behind much water, which is an important factor in our combined mopping performance score, where the P50 was one of the better mops we've tested. Interestingly, though, for most of the other performance metrics, the more affordable P10 Pro Ultra demonstrated an advantage. For example, despite the P50's higher advertised suction power, our measurements showed slightly lower suction and airflow compared to the P10. The P10 also did better than the more expensive P50 with some of the practical performance tests, such as the carpet deep clean test and the crevice pickup test. The P10 also did slightly better with the 2.5-inch flattened pet hair pickup test on carpet, though it was pretty close in that case. The P10 also seemed to be slightly better with navigation efficiency and battery efficiency than the P50 in our tests, and as such, the P10 had a better estimated square foot per charge number. Though it should be said that their overall navigation score as well as their overall battery scores were both higher than average, which is saying something considering their cheap price. I'm only saying that the cheaper P10 Pro seems to be a better value than the P50 in that regard, and that really is the story here. The P10 Pro Ultra really is an exceptional value even when compared to the P50. As mentioned, the P10's primary weakness lies in its adequate but unremarkable mopping ability, which is precisely where the pricier P50 Pro Ultra excels. The P50, though, does have better features and its capabilities are unmatched at its price point, so it is delivering tremendous value too, but in most scenarios, I'd probably consider the P10 Pro Ultra the superior choice, mostly because of the value. But some of those performance scores, like the carpet deep clean test, did hurt the P50 in the final rankings. And as of writing this video, the cheaper P10 Pro Ultra ranks number 9 on the Vacuum Wars Top 20 Robot Vacuum list, where the P50 ranks number 18. Either way, Mova does seem to be a brand on the rise, and they're offering amazing value with their product line, in my opinion. Links in the description, and be sure to subscribe to Vacuum Wars before you leave. Thanks for watching. All of the links in the description are updated regularly to reflect our current favorite vacuums in multiple categories. You'll also find links to the Vacuum Wars website in the description, where we have more detailed lists of our favorite products, like our new Top 20 Robot Vacuums list, which is updated weekly.